What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Supergirl Season 3, Episodes 4, The Faithful, and 5, Damage. So, I had a little bit of a freak out about last episode. That review is currently uploading, so hopefully it'll be up by tonight so I can have time to... Anyway, long story short, yeah, the last episode kind of broke me a little bit. So, going into these next two, was not really excited, but, to be fair, they weren't as bad. Mainly because it was a lot less of Alex and Maggie. Still way too much, but a little bit less focus on the two most annoying characters in the show, and a little bit more focus on what we should be focusing on, which of course is Supergirl herself. But even then, still, just, God. So let's talk about it. First, we'll talk about episode 4, The Faithful. Interesting concept going into it. You know, you've got a guy who is saved on the plane that Alex was saved on in the very first episode, and he sees Supergirl saving him, and so just becomes infatuated with her, and ends up building a cult around her, you know, worshiping Supergirl, praising her as a god. And yeah, it's kind of an interesting concept. It's something we haven't really dealt with before in the show, this concept of saving people being a bad thing. But I mean, they did a pretty good job with sort of building that concept. It was overall pretty enjoyable, just that the constant what do I do, you know, how do I stop this, because we see at one point this guy burns down a building and puts himself inside of it so Supergirl will come save him. And so yeah, this is clearly not a good thing, you know, putting your life in jeopardy because you believe Supergirl is going to save you. Even if she does, it's still not good to cause property damage and put your life and other lives in danger just because you believe that this one girl is going to save people. So ultimately, this culminates into there's some sort of like Kryptonian pod that was sent out. It was sort of like one of our rovers that we send out. It has information about Krypton and everything. So that's how this guy has all this information about Krypton. He sets it up so it's pretty much a bomb now. And so he's about to blow up this whole ice rink, and yeah, Supergirl has to go save him. The only thing about this, and here's the thing, it's a good setup. I do like the idea of this guy sort of going crazy because of how much he loves Supergirl and sees her as a god. But you've got to do it right. And frankly, yeah, Supergirl's powers have always kind of been up for grabs in the show. You know, like, oh, whatever we say goes. You know, at some point, she can't breathe in space even though Superman can, and yeah, there are certain things that they've done with her powers that haven't made a lot of sense. How come sometimes she can hear perfectly, then sometimes she can't hear anything? But in this case, she's going to stop this pod from blowing up. And then she gets close to it, and apparently there's kryptonite in it. As far as I'm concerned, kryptonite has always been something that weakens them and makes them more like human. But this kryptonite actually physically hurts her. Since when? You know, like I've seen white kryptonite that apparently allows you to control people. I've never seen a kryptonite that actually hurts them. Like whenever she was fighting Alex in, I think that was the end of the first season. Whenever she was fighting her in the kryptonite suit, being near her didn't make her go ah. It was touching it that hurt her, but being near her still made her weak. So how come going near this kryptonite all of a sudden makes her like unable to stand up because it's physically hurting her? Because we need that for this episode. So let's just write in something random. This is one of the biggest problems with this show. They just write in whatever the hell they want to as long as it fits the situation. So in this case, we need Supergirl to not be able to stop it. So that way, you know, if she was just able to stop it, this guy and all of his followers would be like, oh, yeah, she's not the guy that she is the guy that we think she is. So we need her to fail in this instance. How are we going to do that? Well, there's kryptonite in it. Well, kryptonite doesn't, it just makes her weaker, so she'll try to stop it, but won't be able. No, 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 no. We need her to physically be, like, weakened and destroyed by it. So that way these people will be all like, oh no, she's not actually a god, she can be killed. It's stupid whenever writers take it into their own hands to try to form a story and make up lies, pretty much, just to fit their story. So yeah, Alex shows up in the nick of time. She manages to get the kryptonite away from her so she has enough strength to melt a hole in the ground. And so Alex and the guy push the device in there and it blows up. And then the guy gets put in prison. And for some reason Kara goes and talks to him. It seemed just kind of seemed wasted to me. Like, why would you go talk to the crazy guy? What did you hope to accomplish? He just spouts some more about how she's a god that's lost her way, and I don't know. But the one thing that did sort of work with this episode is the concept that they were trying to do of faith. Talking about how this faith is a bad thing, and they believe in something that's not real, and yeah, you gotta wonder, how are we going to handle faith in a show like this? But there's a very good scene between Kara and Jimmy where he's talking about how, his first experience with Superman, he was on top of a bridge and started to fall, and he prayed, and Superman was there, and he's like, prayer worked in this case. You are the physical, I guess, representation of a prayer come true. So yeah, I kind of like that concept. I like how they handle it. And it was just, that final scene kind of ruined everything because they have to put in something stupid that just makes me so frustrated. On top of that, we also see Ruby and her mom going through a little bit more of their stuff. They return for this episode. A little bit of a frustration for me because I'm a soccer player, watching that opening scene where Ruby's just like slowly dribbling down the field and dribbling through a bunch of people. It doesn't happen. TV shows, movies. I want you to know that just because somebody's really good at soccer does not mean that they can just and especially at the slow pace she was going. I mean, there's got to be a better way to show somebody's good at soccer than just I can dribble through everybody. Like I see that all the time, and as a soccer player, it irks me. But anyway, but yeah, so she goes and scores a goal, and of course her mom's talking on the phone trying to do some sort of business for El Corp, so she doesn't see it. So they're slowly building this whole story about her not being a good mom and all that. And then there's a point where she's in the office with Lena, and Ruby's fallen asleep when she needed help with a song. And so she feels like she's a terrible mom, but Lena is just like, look, my mom actually was terrible. And so gives her a little pep talk about being a mom. Ultimately, what this all leads to is they go to Ruby's, I guess, little concert at the end of it. Alex and Kara both show up there, and so now Ruby's singing a song. I just saw Thor Ragnarok. There was a Willy Wonka scene in that too, where they started playing, the Willy Wonka theme, and now she's singing it. So I don't know what it is about superhero shows and movies now incorporating Willy Wonka. Just kind of seems out of place. But anyway, so she's singing a song. Alex looks like she's starting to tear up, and then she runs out. Kara follows her, and then she has a little breakdown saying, I want kids. Maggie doesn't want kids, but I want kids. And I'm just like, who cares? But yeah, so she finally realizes that if Maggie doesn't want kids, she can't be with her, and so this builds into the next episode. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else in this episode. Oh, it ends with, we see Ruby and her mom. Sam. I think Sam's her name. I'm pretty sure Sam's her name. But we see her in her bathroom, and she's like, doing all this stuff. And of course, the way they've got it set up, I'm like, is this supposed to be like a scary scene or something? It is. She closes the medicine cabinet, and then all of a sudden, like, her face is covered in some sort of writing. It's probably Kryptonian writing. And all of a sudden, there's a being standing behind her, and it looks all creepy. It's just like, your time is coming, and spouting all this vague, like, ominous stuff. And then we see that apparently the explosion of the device knocked that ship that we saw in the first episode, the one that when it lit up, she had Kryptonian powers. It knocked that loose, and so now it's powered up again, and we see like all these pods where it looks like there are probably people sleeping inside, and so one of them like hand goes up to the window, and that's how the first of these two episodes ends. So then we go into the next one, and this one definitely had a lot more problems. On the concept of it, I'm like, okay, this could lead somewhere interesting, but then the execution of it was just piss poor. So we see that apparently all these kids are getting sick from possibly the lead bomb that they set off at the end of last season. They're getting lead poisoning, and so of course the what's his name, General Talbot's character, what is his name? I probably will remember it very shortly. But it's the douchebag from the first episode that was trying to take over Catco and take over all the business in National City. He's returned and he's blaming Lena for the lead bomb and all that stuff, saying that she poisoned all these kids. So Lena's going through a rough time right now. Kara, Jimmy, Sam, they're all trying to figure out what's going on. We come to find out that apparently he poisoned all these kids by polluting this pool that they were all swimming in, just to blame Lena. So Lena figures this out because Kara and Sam find the chemicals, and she tells Lena the name of the company. She realizes that that's one of the guy's companies. So she goes to threaten him in his office with a gun. She gets knocked out, put on a plane for some reason. I guess he wanted to crash the plane and kill her and then blame her in the process, maybe? It just kind of seemed nonsensical why she was on the plane. But basically, she gets put on a plane that has all these chemicals he's going to dump into, I think, the lake around National City. So, of course, the DEO sees this, and Supergirl flies up and goes to stop the plane. Manages to stop it for the most part, but then it breaks in half, so we got to have the whole, she's holding two sides of the plane. One's got Lena, the other one's got the chemicals. And Lena's like, drop me, save the chemicals. I'm like, if this were not such a goofy and stupid ass show, I'd probably believe that one of these two things could possibly happen. But it's Supergirl, and nothing bad happens on Supergirl. So yeah, she tells Lena to start climbing. Climbs, you gotta jump, I'll catch you. She catches her, saves the chemicals, saves the day because Supergirl, everything's all happy-go-lucky and nothing really bad ever happens except for Mon-El leaving. He didn't even die, he just had to leave. So yeah, what does this all lead to? A lot of stupid shit. So, first of all, we've got Talbot, whatever his character's name. I'm always going to know him as General Talbot from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't remember his character's name in this show. But we see him inside of this tent with the guy who's controlling the airplane. And he's like, what do we do now, sir? He's like, well, you're going to shoot the console. And so he gives him the gun. And he shoots the console. And he's like, what was that for? He's like, I just wanted you to have some gun residue on your hand. And then shoots him in the chest. And I'm just like, well, okay, what does that do exactly? So then he leaves. Supergirl shows up at his place and is like, I thought that was beneath you. I thought poisoning kids would be beneath you, but clearly not. And he said, oh, I believe they found the guy. It's a shame he had to kill himself. I'm like, wait. Let me get this straight. You're telling me that when the people, whoever it was, whoever happened upon that scene, they went in there, saw a guy had been shot in the chest with no gun around. He killed himself? Hang on, I think I feel a migraine forming and it's... Oh. Where am I? Mom? I can't see. Oh. Sorry. Yeah, but that's pretty much how I felt. I felt like a migraine came on, gave me amnesia. I felt like I was being... Oh my god, what the hell? How is the show this stupid? He shot him in the chest, wiped the gun off, took it with him, and then they actually expect me to believe that people happened upon that scene and thought, oh, this man killed himself. There's no gun, he was shot in the chest, no, burn marks on him. So yes, of course, suicide. Because we're all freaking idiots in this show. So, that's the first problem. But it doesn't stop there. I'm thinking back to the first season when Supergirl goes into Maxwell Lord's office, accuses him of blowing up or having that guy blow up the train in the first season. He pretty much admits to it and says he's going to do it again, put more people's lives in jeopardy. And what does she do? She leaves. doesn't lock him up, doesn't take him to the DEO, which at the time was secret, and put him in one of the underground jails where nobody would ever find him again. No, she just leaves. She's like, hey, you better not do anything else. And he's just like, ha, I won't. I'm just like, you're an idiot. Let's repeat that in season 3. Let us take the stupidest thing from season 1 and repeat it. She goes in there, accuses him of all of this. He pretty much says, yeah, I did it. Hey, if we're enemies right now, Supergirl, your best option would be to kill me. And he's like, I didn't think so. You can leave. I'm like, okay. She can lock him up. She can throw him away. She could put him somewhere. She could put him anywhere. She could take him to the other side of the world and just throw him in some deep, dark dungeon over there. But no. Let's just walk out as he poisons children, kills a man, and just, yeah, there's nothing I can do, guys. I'm sorry. I know I'm Supergirl, but I can't stop a random guy, from killing people and hurting children. I mean, I just can't do anything about that. There's nothing I can do. It's not like I could fly him somewhere. It's not like I could maybe record this conversation or do anything about this. Hook him up to a polygraph and be like, hey, police, look at this. Did you poison these children? No. Oh, look, he's lying. Oh, what do we do with that, cops? I mean, God! How can this show be this dumb? Show writers of Supergirl, please, if you're watching this, please tell me, how can you be this dumb? To have such a stupid idea of a guy getting shot in the chest, and there's no murder weapon around, and people believing it's a suicide. You have that, and then you have, repeating from the first season, something so stupid as leaving a guy who's clearly dangerous, who's poisoned children, he's killed a man, having him just run free. Supergirl putting him on the liner in the first episode was smarter than this. I don't get it. This show is losing it. I mean, going from an episode where half of it was about a side character and her relationship, to now we're just, who cares anymore? If a guy shoots a man, 2 feet away, 3 feet away, and says it's a suicide, yeah, everybody else is going to believe it's a suicide too. I don't get it. So, after all of this, is there anything that can possibly make me even more mad? Yes. Because what has been one of my least favorite things about this entire season and season 2? You guys know it. I've already talked about it in this review. Alex and Maggie. I thought it was stupid when they started it. I thought it was just randomly thrown in to have some sort of like, hey, we need to have a public service announcement. Being gay is okay, and you should be free to come out to your family. There's no reason for you to be scared at all. It's okay. We accept you here at Supergirl. It felt unnecessary. It felt pointless. It felt like it was taking away from the plot of Supergirl overall. So we've spent a season and 4 episodes dealing with this relationship. We spent half a season with Alex coming to terms with the fact that she actually likes women. Then we had her and Maggie getting together and going through their whole relationship stuff, which took up half of the second half of the season. And then we started off this season with them being engaged and dealing with some stuff that entails. So after 5 episodes into this season, they finally decide, we're done. Yeah, I know we spent a lot of time on this, but we're done. Peace. So, am I pissed? Of course. You waste all of my time with this show. You waste so much time with this stupid side story. It doesn't connect to anything. It doesn't lead to anything. All it does is make a character who is a badass in the first season, it makes her look weak because you see her sobbing and crying and, I love her and she doesn't love me and she doesn't want kids. You turn her from this awesome character in the first season to a wimp in the next 2 seasons because she's crying over some girl. After all of that, all of the stuff you put me through, you're gonna just end it. What was the point? What was the freaking point? Alex says she wants kids. Maggie says she doesn't. That's enough to end the relationship. We're done. Well, clearly that relationship wasn't strong enough in the first place. If it's going to end over something like that, I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah, having kids can be a big deal, but seriously? That's something that we knew, I think, at the end of last season. Or maybe the beginning of this season. And it took you this long to decide, oh yeah, apparently this is a big deal and we're going to end the relationship now. Make up your minds. Do you want this to be a big deal, a big part of the show, half of the show, or do you want to just end it? So, yeah. I mean, these 2 episodes had some brighter points. It wasn't nearly as bad as the 3rd episode, but my God, it's just so awful right now. And what I can't believe is that in all of this, it's still getting good ratings. At least on IMDb. I haven't checked everything else, but I mean, this show is still being rated very highly. Why? What is so good about this show? The action has not been that great, and honestly, the action has hardly been involved in the past 2 episodes. You know, Supergirl hasn't really had to do any fighting. She had to fight those white Martians in the 3rd one, but 4th one, she didn't do any fighting. She saved a guy in a burning building, and then burned a hole in the ground. 5th one, she had to carry a plane for like 3 seconds and it broke apart. So it's not the action. The story's not that good, as I've clearly pointed out several plot holes in these past 2 episodes. The characters, not that great. A lot of them are kind of despicable, if you ask me. Like, some of them I just kind of wish would sort of get their comeuppance pretty soon. The only thing that this show's got going for it is that the acting is pretty good, but I'm sorry, just because you have good actors does not mean that I want to watch. Does not mean you have a good show. You can have the best actors in the world, but if your script is poor, who cares? I mean, look at some of the movies that have been put out. You look at some of the best actors in the world, they've had a couple terrible movies because the script has been awful. There's nothing they could have done to save it. So, I don't know why this show's continued to be rated highly, but it is terrible. And as long as it continues to sort of bring down this Arrowverse, not that Arrow's doing much better, but I mean, it's the one show that's sort of dragging it down because it has no other connection other than the fact that it's in the same, I guess, TV universe. It's not in the same world in the actual show, but yeah, it's in the same TV universe overall, in the Arrowverse. So that's the only thing that's got connected to shows like The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow, which are actually pretty good. And it just keeps dragging it down with it. It's like, I'm going down, I'm taking you with me. And Arrow's kind of doing the same thing right now. So yeah, that's it for these 2 episodes. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on this episode? Let me know. We can talk about, discuss all the good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Supergirl reviews. I would not blame you if you don't. See you next one. Peace out.